Diodorus says that Serbon entered Egypt and killed King Busiris. The king killed foreigners who visit his country. Albright states, since the accession to the throne of Egypt, Ramses I, around 1320 BC, there is a return of the customs of Hyksos and a worship of the long-neglected god Set, the adversary of Horus. The Ramses dynasty was descended from a single king of Hyksos. The father of Ramses II was called Suta, which is Set. Ramses II built a temple to god Set in Tanis when they were called Suteh at that time. In a treaty between Ramses II and Hattushi, all the chief gods of Syria and Asia Minor are called Suteh. From this it can be understood that Serbon brought to power in Egypt the Ramses dynasty originated from the king of Hyksos, and that the religious customs from the time of Hyksos, from time to time of Serbian domination in Egypt, were restored. We now better understand the presence of numerous Serdans in Ramses' army with the role of Paroch's guard. Egyptian poets refer to them as Serdans of the combat heart. After Egypt, Serbon passed along the coast of Africa all the way to Mauritania and to the ocean. Diodor gives us somewhat different description of Serbon's departure from Crete. He says that Serbon, when he calls how he calls Heracles, cleared Crete of wild beasts, so that no bear, wolf, or any beast, even a snake, could be found on it. He says that he did this in honor of Crete, which is the place of birth and the first abode of Diva, Dios. He sailed from Crete to Libya. By Libya he meant Africa, where he killed the giant Ante. He conquered Libya and turned it into arable land, vineyards and olive groves. Generally speaking, Libya was uninhabited until then due to multitude of wild beasts. Serbon brought her into such a state that she was not left behind by other countries by wealth. He punished the tyrants and improved cities. He hated beasts and people without law, and that is why he fought against them, because it was his jurisdiction. What Diodorus wrote was a general view of Serbon and his work as understood and believed in ancient times. Diodorus says that after Egypt, Serbon passed through the Libyan desert, and when he came to the place with water, he founded a large city there. Stovrata, 100 gates. He came to Gadir, today's Cadiz, and set up pillars on both sides of the sea, that is Gibraltar, on both lands. His navy followed him and transported him with the army across the seas to Iberia. He conquered the whole Iberia, Spain, and since then the Iberians have sacrificed the most beautiful bull to Serbon every year. This custom lasted only the time of Diodorus. Until the time of Diodorus. When Serbon reached the furthest end of Libya and Europe on the ocean, he decided to raise those pillars in memory of his campaign, to leave a monument on the ocean for all time on both sides of the sea. Serbon took with him warriors from India, Media, Persia, and Asia Minor. During the conquest of North Africa, he inhabited the Medes, Persians, and Indians. He settled the latter in Mauritania. The ancient Moors are of Hindu descent. Pomponius Mela mentioned the river Sarabal in Numidia. Pliny mentions the river as Sardabala and Claudius Ptolemy as Serbatis. The same writer mentions two other rivers in North Africa, the Serbes and Savus. Serbes is today Isser. The Atlas Mountains were inhabited by tribes of the Serbian race, and among them are the Getuli, who are in fact Serbian Geti. That is why they say that this is south of Mauritania Getuli. Legend has it that in Iberia, that is Spain, a king named Munster under name Geryon ruled. When Italicus says he had 3 lives, 3 heads, and 3 right hands. These are stories from Divonia, but Serbon really conquered Spain, which has been known as Iberia since. Strabon says, Iberia once attracted the army of Hercules and then fell into hands of the Phoenicians. To these Strabon statements, Jocelyn gives an explanation and says, this is the Phoenician Hercules, which is 2 to 3 centuries older than a Greek Hercules, because so he concludes that Serbon's campaign must have taken place before that date. But Gadis is mentioned in a description of Serbon's campaign, which is quite normal because the campaign was after the founding of the city. Italicus says that a certain Zakynthos was with Serbon in Iberia and that he died there on the place where the city of Saguntum was later built. Zakynthos, says Italicus, was from the island of Zante in the Ionian Sea. The same writer in another place says that Zakynthos died from the bite of a snake and that after the conquest, migrants from Daunia arrived in Iberia, sent there by famous Ardea. Italicus under Daunia here meant Italy. The Ardea is in fact Sardea, a city south of Rome. Sarbon settled in Spain Iberia from Asia Minor, and that is why the country is called Iberia. The Iberians from Asia Minor are a Serbian tribe. That is why in ancient Iberia there are many names of cities, rivers and mountains in Serbian language. Today's river Ebro is Ibar. Ptolemy mentions the city of Sarabris near modern Zamora. Stephan of Byzantium mentions the city of Sargantia, which was in fact Sarbantia. Silius Italicus mentions the city of Uxama in Iberia, whose walls are Sarmatian. That is exactly as if he said Serbian. It is similar with the city of Iberis and many others. Diodorus says that after the conquest of Iberia, Serbon handed over power to the best people and passed away Celtic, which he conquered all over and introduced the laws. Celtic here means Old Gaul, whose Serbian name is Old Gaul, the France, whose Serbian name is Rodania. He then says that Serbon founded a great city of Alessia. The inhabitants of the city were mostly natives, so since they were more numerous than the newcomers, the entire population was barbarized. The Celts hold this city in honor as the mother city of all cities in Celtic. He then adds that the city of Alessia was never conquered or looted until Julius Caesar, 52 BC. Strabon says that Alessia was founded by Serbon on his return from Iberia, and that the city of Gaul was considered the capital of Gaul. Alessia as the name also appears among Serbian tribes in Asia Minor, so one gets the impression that his name was transferred from Asia Minor to Rodania. Sites mentions the Elysian fields east of Tarsus in Cilicia. Old legends mentioned Radamant, a nobleman from the Cretan Minoan dynasty, as a king of Alessia. From this it can be concluded that it is Serbon who left Radamant in Alessia as a king of Rodania. That country was inhabited by several Serbian tribes. At the mouth of the river Rodana, there was a city that is referred to as Heraclea. The translation of Heraclea is Serbonia, and will be founded during the same campaign. Rodania is rich with Serbian names, that is, traces of Serbian presence. Diodorus gave a description of Serbon's crossing of the Alps from Rodania to Italy. He says that on that occasion Serbon made a trip across the Alps, which can be used by the army with equipment. This path was later crossed by the Carthaginian Duke Hannibal and his army and elephants. After crossing the Alps, Serbon passed through subalpine Gaul, Liguria, the land of Racen, came to the land of Tiber, and set up his camp on a site where the city of Rome, Ruma, was later built. The champions of this region, Cacius and Pinarius, welcomed Serbon. The memory of these people lasted in Rome until the time of Diodorus, and they were in great honor. The old brotherhood of Pinara still existed in Rome in time of Diodorus. Cacus had a house on the Palatine Hill, and in Serbian Rome a stone staircase which passed through his house. It was called Scala Caci.